this week's Parsha Shemini, it speaks about behemoths that are mutter to eat, also to eat. It speaks about oifis, birds that are mutter to eat and also to eat. It speaks about the fish. And towards the end of the Parsha, and now we all know this Monday Tahira of an animal is Bahud and chooses Kod. We know birds. The Torah doesn't give any simonim how we know a bird is kosher. Just lists. These are the ones they're not allowed to eat. And it lists all of them they're not allowed to eat, and that's it. And it doesn't say anything which behemoths, which birds you're allowed. It doesn't give any simonim for birds they're allowed to eat that you can't eat. Simonim oifis there isn't. Chazal later on went ahead and they figured out. They took all the oifis that the Torah said you can't eat, and they took the common denominator amongst all of them. And they said if it has any of these four things, then you know it's one of the behemoths tameis, and if not, then you know it's one of the behemoths, one of the oifis tahiris. Then you have fish, that has stapim v'kaskesas, fins and scales, and then you have v'chol hasheret hasheretz ala oret sheketzu lechem lo yayachem. Anything that crawls, any insect is creeping things are also to eat. It doesn't say any heterim. A sheretz is also to eat. Now what's a sheretz? We know what animals are, we know what birds are, we know what fish is. A sheretz is any little creature that crawls. There's no heter to eat it. Any bug, we call it bugs. Bugs are also to eat. But it says hasheretz hasheretz ala oretz. A bug that crawls on the ground. From these words, we're going to see there's a lot learned out of it. Why? Because, especially today, in today's days, the bug issue became a very, very big issue. Everything today has bugs. You can't do almost anything today because there's bugs in it. And let's try to figure out what's the issue of bugs and what's the heter of bugs. So the first title that people have about bugs is that, you know, what happened also today, everything has a problem. About 100 years ago, there was no problems with bugs, and today there's a problem.
Everything was kosher 25, 50.
Everything was kosher.
We could just see better. We could just see better now.
We could just see better. So some people say
Chicago 59 was kosher.
Everything was kosher.
58, 59.
Whoever thought about you can't drink water. Whoever thought about that you can't eat strawberries. Everything was kosher in those days, right? So what happened? Now everything became awesome? What happened?
It's you shroom guys.
It's not
I'm just joking.
The censor's going to attack.
So
CMR came around. That's what happened.
No, so there's two things here.
Force you are.
There's two things here. First of all, you have to understand two things. When it says that bugs are also right, there is such a concept that something that the eye cannot see is mutter. That's for sure. Something the eye cannot see is mutter.
Is that the halacha, by the way? Or?
Yeah.
You don't have to check with a microscope.
Yeah, it has to be
Your
something
eyes.
that you can see with your eye. If it's something you cannot see with your eye,
You don't have to look
it's not
at
even called a sheretz, and it's mutter to eat it. And it's mutter to eat it. So that was the time a lot of people that came out with the shadow with the water. There's bugs in the water. People said that it's no problem because you can't see it. But the truth is, what does it mean you can't see it? Who can't see it? Me and you look at a cup of water, everything looks the same. But a person who knows what he's looking for could see it. So it doesn't say in the Torah that if you don't know anything and you look at a cup of water and you can't see anything, oh, it's mutter. It doesn't say that. It says if the eye can't see it. Now which eye can't see it? The person knows what he's looking for and he can see it, then it's also. But the question is still there. Also today,
the majority of the people.
What?
It's the majority.
No, it's not even telling the majority of the people.
It's expert.
It's totally the person who knows what he's looking for. If you don't know what you're looking for, of course you won't see it.
No, majority of eyes. It doesn't have.
No.
Let's say someone has a sharper eyes than others.
Once you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Once you know what you're looking for, you go after the majority. But if you have 1,000 people that have no idea what they're looking for, and they come and they drink water, of course there's nothing inside of it. They're not even part of the count. They're not even part of the count. It has the people know what they're looking for. So the big question is, what happened? Why is today everything a problem? And what they say is that till not so long ago, if someone lived in Europe or if someone lived in China or in New York, whatever it was, they didn't have much connection with each other. the world, every country, every city, every derful, as I would say, was a thing by itself. They had no shaykhs to anything else. Now, if there was a certain bug that was found, in, let's say in a city or in a town somewhere far out, it never ended up coming to across the world in a different place. The same in machlas come across the world now because people travel, any sicknesses. Today, they say the same thing happens with bugs. Everything is shipped all over the world today.
China.
Everything is shipped. So anytime, it could have been that in a certain country, a certain city, there was a certain bug that's very common, and only that one was common. The next city had nothing. Across the world, it definitely didn't have those bugs. Today, that everything is shipped around the world, so that's why it's much more common. That's one thing you should know.
I also heard from David Shokat, that there's another factor is that the chemicals that have been used to exterminate bugs have been successful, but other bugs have morphed as a result of it that survived it, that are much harder to find.
It's harder to find.
Yeah, and that's in the last 50 years.
Yeah. There are reasons why there's more bugs that are shchiach today. But that's the reason why there's more of a problem today. But let's go back a step and see what is the problem. So the halacha is that a bug that's usher is only a bug if you can have a fruit. I'll go into detail soon. Or water that has bugs in it, and you're allowed to drink it without a problem. All the bugs there are mutter. What's the difference? It says kol hasheret hasheretz al haaretz. Anytime a bug, a sheret, crawled on the ground, then it's usher. But if it never crawled on the ground, it's mutter to eat it. So if you have water, let's say, let's use the famous example of water. You have water, and in the water is little teeny insects, which some people don't get grossed out by it. They don't like it, but it may be healthy even, right? And by the goyim, it's not a problem. If you go ahead, Allah says, if you go ahead and you stick your head into the water and you drink it, it's mutter. It's no problem. Hainu rivisayu. That's where it grows. It's not called a sheret ala oretz yet. It's mutter to drink those bugs.
Even if you see it.
Even if you see it, it's mutter.
The fly's okay?
No, a fly comes from outside.
No, fruit
Something that grew.
created from the fruit.
Yes, we'll get to that. We get to the flies that are created from the fruit itself.
Said if you put your head inside the water, what happens if a picture of
So if you're taking a cup from the water, there's a different problem. What's the problem? The problem is that it could be when you took it out of the water, the bug for a second left the water and walked around on the side of the cup. Once it walks around the side of the cup, it's really a problem. It leaves. What?
the straw.
The straw's okay, maybe, yeah. Maybe the straw's okay.
That's why you're looking to keep
No, because he touched it and fell in. What's the difference?
What do you mean?
As you pour in the water, it touched the
No,
wall and it fell
if
down.
you straight from the water, you sip it up with a straw.
But he's talking about a cup.
So that's the problem. The problem with today's
But
water
a
is
styrofoam cup what defined as the ground?
I'm drinking water until I can get the answer here. There's a problem.
Hainu ribisayu means that if it's in its place where it grew, it's mutter to eat it.
I see.
I'll be taking out of his place.
Once it left its place where it grew,
That's by faucet already.
right? So by a faucet already, the problem with faucets are, if you would have it coming straight from the water, straight into your cup, and drinking like that, maybe it's fine. But the problem is when it goes through the pipes, and it could be it left the water, and it crawled on the pipe for a second, then it becomes usher.
Of course he did. A
Yeah.
million pipes
That's
going
right.
from one place
That's right.
to another.
So usually
It's impossible.
that's why it's a problem with the pipes today.
Problem in New York. That was a problem in New York.
That's a problem in New York, yeah.
Yeah?
There were bugs in the water.
Shrotzim agedelim b'mayim shebekelim shebebaris sichon umarish einen levin mutarim. It doesn't move its mutter. Alpha pisha ein lehem snapper v'kaskesas. Now we know sheretz hamayim, fish, need snapper v'kaskesas, fins and scales. These bugs don't have fins and scales, it's mutter. The fikach shoicha v'sheisim hen, a person could bend down and drink from it, v'einei choishes l'shrotzim shabehem, he doesn't have to worry about the shrotzim. But, v'empirish v'mokim revisan, if it left the water for a second and went on something else, then already he going like chari habar, or svasa kli, went on the end of the kli, then already it's aser. Then already it becomes aser. So the problem with the bugs is not that. So you have an interesting thing over here. It's not like animals. It's not like fish. It's not like birds. These things are mutter as long as they're in the place where they grew. Once they come out of the place where they grew, then it becomes asur. That's by water. Let's go to fruits. Fruits are the same thing.
Before you leave water.
Huh?
Before you leave water, if something grows in a fish.
We get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, we get the fish and we get to everything. You see, there's a big difference between fish and animals. The next halacha is Taloim Hagdel Bepeirus. Right? The same thing. If you have little bugs that grow in fruits, so it depends. If it grew in the fruit when it was still attached to the ground, then it's Sharit al Aretz. If it crawled around in the fruit while it was still attached to the ground, then it's called Sharit al Aretz. But if we pick a fruit off the tree, and then the bugs grew inside the fruit, it never left the fruit, you're allowed to eat it. You're allowed to eat that. Why? Because it's not Sharit al Aretz.
You know when it grows inside.
So you're right. It's something when it grew. That's why you have to be chayshish. But let's say we know. You take the fruit, and these type of bugs only grow after the fruit comes off the tree. Let's say the science they can figure it out exactly when the bug grows. That bug etzem is mutter to eat. You can have an apple that has bugs inside of it, and you're allowed to eat it. Why? Because it grew inside the fruit and it never crawled on the ground. Mutter to eat it by fruit.
As long as there's no holes in the apple.
Right. So if there's a hole in the apple,
you can't touch it.
so if there's a hole in the apple, there's a problem with skin. Maybe the bug came out of the apple, crawled around on top of the apple, and went back in. Then it could be awesome. Now comes the famous question with the fish.
That doesn't ruin the whole apple. That ruins the portion where the bug
is. Yeah, if you can take out the bug, it's not a problem.
Right.
If you can take out the bug, it's not a problem. Then you have something else, which is called bugs that are found in meat, bugs that are found in fish. I don't know if you remember, there's a big question with the fish. Worms, yeah. The worms in the fish. Right, so the question is, there was a big question with the fish. What's it called again? The wild salmon. I think it was the wild salmon. There's a big question. They found little bugs under the skin of the fish. And is it mutter or not? So where is that dependent? So it's the same thing. Anything that grows within the fish is mutter to eat. If you have a fish and the bugs grow from within the fish itself, it's not a problem. You're not eat them. What are you worried about? If the fish ate something or ate a bug and then it grew, then it's a problem because it came from the outside. So let's say a fish ate something, or a different fish, whatever it was, and bugs came out of it in its stomach. It's a problem. So if you cut open a fish and you find bugs in the stomach of the fish, so that didn't grow in the fish, then it's awesome. But these little worms they found between the skin of the fish and the flesh of the fish, there was a big question. Where did these bugs come from? If they grew from within the fish itself, you don't have to worry about it. You're allowed to eat it. But if they came from the stomach and they made their way through the flesh, and now they find them under the skin, then already it's a problem. So that was the big question, exactly where these bugs come from. But the interesting thing is, there's a big difference between bugs they find, let's call them worms now. Once we're in fish and meat, it's worms. The little worms they find by meat, and little worms they find by fish. What's the difference? The halacha is kol hateloim hanimsam babehema. Any little worms they find in animals, bein shehein bein or lebasar, saif that between the skin and the meat, bein shehein b'meyeha, saif it's in its stomach, asurim. They're all asur. And we'll see why in a second. V'hanimsam b'dogim, but the ones you find in fish, there it depends. B'meyehem, in their stomach, asurim. It's asur. Bein or lebasar, oy b'toich habasar mutarim. If it's in the meat itself of the fish, or between the meat of the fish and the skin, that's mutter. Why? Because that's where it grew. That's where it grew. So the question was, in the wild salmon, where did those bugs come from? Did they grow there, or did they come from the stomach? That was the question. But we see a difference between a bug that you find, let's say, even in the meat itself, or between the meat and the skin. By a fish, it's mutter. By meat, it's asur. What's the difference? What should be the difference? You have meat, and that bugs grew within the meat, and they're asur. You have fish, that the bugs grew within the fish, and it's mutter. What's the difference?
Where the animal lives.
The animal?
Where the animal lives. One fish is in the water, swimming under the water. You're not
Right,
So
and
the
therefore,
likelihood of the bug coming from outside, unless it ate it,
yeah.
is very remote.
No,
How is it
so-
going to attach itself?
Nothing.
to the fish?
But by meat, you're saying it must come.
Because the animal's walking around. So
Okay, fine, but let's say we know for sure. Even if we know for sure these bugs grow within the meat, we know for sure. Still, it's also by meat. By meat, there's no difference. And the difference is like that. I'll tell you the difference.
The animal walks on the Haaretz.
And
The animal
therefore,
itself.
Sheretz al Aretz. But the bug was the Sheretz al Aretz.
Well, it's part of the animal.
Okay, I'll tell you the reason why. The reason is because behemoth. How do you eat a behemoth? You have to shecht it. You have to shecht an animal before you eat it. Fish. If you want, you can take a fish and bite into it. If you want, not a problem. Hit over the head. Maybe. I'll try to shack it. No shchita.
You can eat it live.
That's how
You can eat it live. Yeah.
fish on the run.
Yeah.
Fish on the run, yeah.
Yeah. Fish is no din shchita, right? On animals, there's a din shchita. So what happens is like this: you have an animal, the little worms are growing in it, and they're growing from the animal itself. So there's no din sheretz hasheretz ala aretz, but those bugs have a din like the animal. They need shchita.
So how
And when you shech the animal, the shchita doesn't work for the worms. That's why the worms of meat are also to eat, even though it grows from the meat itself, because it's mechuyev b'shchita, and you don't have shchita when you shech the animal. The shchita doesn't work on the bugs.
What about the fetus? What about the fetus?
Do I?
If you kill it,
Oh yeah, it's something else. They speak about it. If you shech an animal and there's a fetus inside the animal, you're allowed to eat it.
Yeah, but shchita.
You're allowed without shchita, because the shchita of the mother works for the child, right? If you shech an animal and you find inside a baby,
eat it.
the lach is allowed to eat it, because the shchita of the mother works for the child.
Yeah. What about the
But for the worms, it doesn't work.
not part of the animal?
Oh, so I'll tell you what it says. Look what it says. A very good question.
Exactly, just one worm at a time.
It's not part of the animal. Not a part of it.
Here.
You gotta be very careful.
No, the worms you're allowed to eat. Because it's not Sheretz al Aretz. It grew from that. Same with the worms that grew in the water, the worms that grew in the fruit itself, the worms that grow from the fish itself. You're allowed to eat them. You're allowed to eat them. The only ones you're not allowed to eat are the worms by meat.
Unless you shecht them.
Why? I don't know if it's going to work. I'm not sure. If you take the bug and you shecht it, I'm not sure it's going to work. But look what it says. Look what the Shach says. Shach says, "Mishum de behema b'shchita talia milsa, behema needs shchita, ve'elu shegadlu b'toicham." And these little worms that grew in the animal, shlo nishchatu, they weren't shechted. Bom iser evim menachai, and you have to have shchita on them. The shchita is a behema lemahanilahu. Why? So yesh lam chiyas bifnei atzman. They have their own life. That means the shchita's animal works for every part of the animal. These bugs, since they have their own chiyas, the shchita doesn't work for it. Even though the fetus is mutter with the shchita of the mother, Haseim mikol babahema techelu nafka. It's a gzeres hakasef. You learn it out from kol babahema. Anything you find in the animal, you're allowed to eat when you shecht it, and that's going on the fetus. Nothing else. So gzeres hakasef, you're allowed to eat the baby inside the mother's stomach after you shecht it. Aval hacha, but these bugs, be'isirayu kaimi. They're still in the same issur.
If the fetus has that parasitic infection, can you eat the bugs that are in the fetus?
If what?
If the fetus has the same parasitic worm infection, can you eat those?
Probably not.
Probably not.
No, it doesn't work.
What's the question?
If the fetus also has bugs in it.
Because it raises a question, because the fetus doesn't have to be killed. Right? If it survives, it can be bred.
It could be.
Bred.
Yeah.
Right? And it can have its own children.
Right.
And there's a question, I think, about checking those children.
Right. There's a question why Behema Makash and Kulin. It's a question if you have a shlil, that was when you open shecht an animal and the shlil comes out, and then you don't shecht it, it grows up, it's walking around, one day you can just knock it over the head and eat it. How about if it has kids? Are its kids mechuyev b'shchita or not? Because it doesn't need shchita. So its kids mechuyev b'shchita. Yeah, talk more about it.
So that's actually my question. With that generation, they're not required to have shchita.
Right.
Why would their bugs be required to have shchita?
You can eat it without.
Okay, good.
was born in this
Okay.
Basically, I find a piece of meat with bugs in it. I ain't going to be eating it. Doesn't matter
You
whether
don't
it's
see
kosher or
them.
not kosher.
You don't see them.
I know. It doesn't
Right,
matter.
so how do you know? So how do you know?
Put it in
So
it.
whatever piece of meat you're saying there could be bugs in the meat that you can't see,
Right,
so how do you eat the meat?
That's why we have to rely on the Aksherim. When they say fish you could eat, they're saying there's no bugs in it.
Right.
But there was a problem with the wild salmon, there were bugs. You didn't see the bugs. You didn't even see them. And the non-Jewish world,
If you see what goes on in a butcher shop,
Exactly, you wouldn't eat it.
yeah. And in the non-Jewish world, they're not disgusted by these bugs.
That's why you sold the business. You had enough. Enough's enough. Right?
How does the prohibition against eating an entire creature enter into affecting this?
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. We got Barry even.
Really?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I want to finish off with that. So that's the difference between bugs that grow by animals, by meat, and bugs that grow in fish. In fish, there's no din to shech the fish. So if the worm is mutter because it grows from the fish itself, so then you can eat it. There's no problem of shchita. You don't have to shech the fish before you eat it. There's no din even menachai on a fish. So you go ahead, you can eat it. So that's the difference between worms that grow in meat and worms that grow in fish. Worms that grow in meat are mechuyev shchita. You can't do shchita on them, therefore you can't eat them. Worms that grow in fish, if they grew from the fish itself, it's mutter. So this is all haterim, which you have to figure out. You have to. It's not easy. So we have the whole kashrus organizations for. They figure out exactly which bugs grow from the fish itself, and which maybe come from the outside and end up under the skin of the animal, of the fish, and they grow there. And those are awesome. The same thing, you can have bugs in fruits and vegetables and in water. All these things, it depends. They're not automatically usher. They're only usher if they come from the outside. If they come from the inside, they're not usher. They're mutter. But you have to go figure out which ones come.
All these cherries, that every cherry has bugs. It doesn't come from the outside, it comes from the inside.
It depends. Some of them come from the outside.
Every single one has a bug from the outside.
Yeah, when they grow, there's bugs all over the place. That's the problem. When they grow, the strawberries, let's say, right? They find there's bugs all over the strawberries. These things all come from the outside. The infestation is not from the inside. If it'll be from the fruit itself, it'll be mutter. Now, that's all the sheretz is also. Now, shrotzim are very, very small. You can't even see them. But obviously, the question is, okay, I'm not allowed to eat the sheretz. Fine, I can't eat it. I can't see it. It's bottled. There's 60 times the amount, right? So why can't you eat it? If you have an isser, that falls into your pot, right? You have an isser that falls into your pot, and there's 60 times the amount of the isser, it's bottled, and you're allowed to eat it, right? A piece of non-kosher meat or whatever, or something that dissolves in your pot, and there's 60 times of heter in your pot, you're allowed to eat it. These little bugs, there's definitely 60 times the amount than the bug.
It's a complete entity, that's what it is.
So the answer is it didn't bury you. Bury you means that if something is full, it's a full bug, it's not missing any part of it, then it's not bottled. A barrier is not bottled. Something that's a full entity by itself is never bottled. So you have a big, huge pot of soup, and one little teeny fly flies into it, and you can't find it, and you know it's still whole, then you can't eat the whole pot of soup. Even though it's 100 times, 200 times the amount of the bug in the soup, doesn't make a difference. You can't eat the whole pot of soup. The whole pot of soup you can't eat. That's only as long as the barrier is whole. Let's say the fly.
As long as you know it's whole?
As long as.
Because you may not know whether it's whole or not.
Okay, that's a suffix.
After it's been the soup.
That's a suffix.
Right.
A suffix can go to chumrah. Suffix to rice and chumrah. So now you know you saw there's a bug in your soup, but it was missing a leg.
Baruch Hashem. A fly who limps.
It's missing a leg, then it's no problem. You can eat it. You're not allowed to eat it by itself. But if it gets mixed in, into the soup, you're allowed to eat it.
Oh, it's chopped up.
Right? It was chopped up.
Spinach.
So now you have. Why am I saying this? Everyone's laughing, right? I'm not coming to tell jokes. Why am I saying this? Because there's a famous problem with all the, let's say, strawberries and blueberries, whatever they are that they have bugs in them. Vegetables, they go ahead and they sell bodeg and they clean them, right? But there's a big heter when it comes time to jams or to yogurts, these type of things. They use regular strawberries and regular whatever jam. They use the regular. They don't use bodeg or anything that checks for worms and bugs, and they use it and they sell it and we eat it. What happened? What happened to the problem of teloim? The answer is when they cook it up and they make the yogurts out of them or jams out of them. What happens is the bugs disintegrate. They fall apart. If it falls apart, now it's already not a berry anymore. Now, even though you know they took strawberries and they had bugs in it, right? And they cooked it up, and now they mixed it up, and now there's no more bugs anymore. It now becomes bottle. Now you can eat it. Now you're allowed to eat it. That's why, even though someone who's makbid, who's very, very careful with all these things that were taloim, they won't go near a strawberry, even with the aksherim, because they're scared of it. When it comes time when they're cooked, it's much, much different. If it's cooked, it's much better. Because those taloim that are cooked fell apart. If it falls apart, then you're okay.
Same with the flour that we eat today.
The
Flour. You know how many mice and net inside there?
where?
White worms. It's not.
Inside the flour.
Inside the flour, yeah. Kemach flour also has little worms in them.
White worm.
There's mice inside. Never mind.
Never mind, Menno.
There's
Mice and
You know that rye bread that you with
It's a classic, yes.
there's a guy who runs a lab in New York. He's like
with caraway seeds? You think there's a caraway seed? Not a chance.
And he said when they make coleslaw, they virtually don't clean it at all. They just put it in a barrel
In Israel, the flour
with salt and vinegar or something like that.
Not like
when
here
it
you go and buy
starts,
rubber
you can see
flour.
there's bugs
It's pretty
come
clean.
out.
Israel,
He said
you
2
cannot
months
take
later
flour
when it's ready,
and just cook with it. You have to
no
sift
bugs.
it. And you don't want to see what comes out
It's
of it.
dissolved.
Hey? Yeah.
The mice?
Acid.
Okay, so that's
It's the mice, it's the bugs. It's
The vinegar and the acid
so this is a
doesn't exist anymore.
but that's a big question because
Yeah.
No, but it's not like with the mice, with the flour. It's true.
This is like kosher stuff. It has
no, the question is like this: are you allowed to go ahead? This is after it's cooked and the bugs are disintegrated. You don't have to worry about it because it becomes bottle. But am I allowed to go ahead lechatchila and take strawberries that I know have bugs in it and cook it up? They disintegrate and now it becomes bottle. Am I allowed to do that?
For sure. Say no. Doesn't sound right.
Otherwise, we couldn't eat the jam.
No, the answer is there's something called ein mevatlin isser lechatchila. If you have, let's say, an isser, and you want to add it to a pot of 100 times inside the pot, you want to add the isser into the pot, and now it becomes bottle. You're not allowed to do that. Ein mevatlin isser lechatchila. You're not allowed to go ahead and take isser. So there, just to add the isser by itself, okay, I'm not sure why you're doing it. But let's say I have isser fell into my pot, and I know now there's only 30 times the amount of heter against the isser, and I can't eat it. So what do I want to do? I'm going to add more to the pot, and now it's bottle. Are you allowed to do that?
Maybe yeah. It's not maybe yeah.
So the answer is you're not allowed to do that. Because ein mevatel isser lechatchila. If you have an isser in a pot that's not bottle, you're not allowed to add that to become bottle.
So what's the heter for eating jam and yogurt?
So we'll get that in a second. So you're not allowed to go ahead and be mevatel isser lechatchila. You can't go ahead and now add more to the pot and make it bottle. So now you want to go ahead and use the strawberries. You can go cook it up. And now the bugs, you knock off the feet of the bugs, right, when you're cooking it, becomes bottle. That's mevatel isser lechatchila. You're not allowed to do that. So there's two alternatives here. One heter is to clean them off a little bit, and it's not for sure that there are bugs there. There's a suffix. If there's bugs there, then there's no problem.
what happened to Safek L'chumra?
So if it's the mevatel isser lechatchila, it's a din d'Rabbanan, not a din d'Oraisa. Now, if I have a suffix, if the strawberries have bugs in it or not, and I want to go cook it up, and even if there is, they're going to be dissolved, that you're allowed to do. Because now it's only a suffix if there's a bug there. And when I finish with it, it's vade bottle. Elamai, what are you going to say? You can't do that lechatchila. That's in the Rabbanan. And it's a suffix to Rabbanan. A suffix if there's a bug there. One heter. Another heter is, if let's say it's a Goyish company.
Wait a second. If you know there's a bug there,
If you know for sure it's a bug there and you want to cook it off the bottle, you can't do it. You can't do
It's a
it.
suffix.
So you're saying it's the washing of the strawberry that makes the suffix?
Yeah, the
then why
question
can't
is-
you take one off the vine, wash it, and then eat it? Because there's a suffix.
So the question is, you take it off the vine and you wash it, and you don't check it well enough, it could be you have to check it more. Once you know there was a bug there, it could be you have to check it all the way to make sure there's nothing there. Different type of checking. When you wash it off and you want to make it into a suffix if there is one there, then you could do. And then you mevatel it. But if you take it off the vine and you know there was vade bugs there, you can't eat it now when I brought it down to the suffix. It's still suffix. You can't eat it now. To mevatel it, a suffix would work. But to eat it the way it is, a suffix will not work. A suffix doesn't work. So that's one heter. Another heter is if it's a Goyish company that's doing it, they're not doing it for you. They're doing it for their company. A guy can go ahead and be mevatel if he wants for himself. The guy's allowed to go ahead and make tons of vats of jam and mevatel the bugs, because for him there's no isser, no isser of bugs. Then he's selling it to us. Okay, so now he's selling it to us. I'm buying something that's already bottled. He didn't do it for me. If he's mevatel it for me, I asked him come to my house, make me jam. Maybe he can't do that. But if he's doing it for himself and then he's selling it, that's something else. Then he's allowed to do it. So even though there may be crushed up worms inside, it doesn't make a difference because now it's already bottled.
What if you see one
If you see one where
as you're eating it? Can you eat the bug? There's jam job.
you can eat it.
No, but you said it's mevatel.
No, but if you see it, you can eat it.
Chopped up.
It's not bottled if you see it. If you see it, it's not bottled. If you see it, it's in front of you.
Company, you get 10 years worth of free jam. I promise you. In fact, I'm banging your jam.
10 years worth of free worms.
No, the bittul is only that you can't see
You
it.
could.
Only if you can't see it. Now, if you see it, it's there.
If you wanted to.
There's no
At the
bittul.
time, trust me, you could do it.
There's no bittul.
And they wouldn't want a bad press.
So if you see it, and something that's been cooked like that, does that impact the whole jam, or just that?
So it depends. If you find one bug in there and nothing else, you take out the bug and eat the rest of the jam. When you find 3 already, then it has a chazaka, there's bugs inside, and you have to check the whole thing. Then you're in trouble. When you find 3, you're in trouble. I mean, by the time you find 3, you probably want to get rid of it anyway.
Especially if they're moving.
Especially if they're moving. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm very machmir when it comes to this kind of stuff. On one bug, it's gone.
No, but you'd be surprised how many stuff have bugs in it.
But you don't see them. So
You don't see them, yeah. You don't think about it,
If we could see everything with a microscope, we wouldn't eat. We'd all be dead.
Right.
The microscope is
Everything, there's living creatures in everything. But the terrace is wide. The first 2 terrace. Anything you put on the microscope, there's living creatures in there. Everything. What's the heter to it? Heter is, first of all, you can't see with your eye. And second of all, another heter could be that Hanir Visayu. That's where it grows and never came out and it stays there. So it's another heter. That's another heter. But we shouldn't take light this Isser of Teloim because in the Macholas Asuris, eating things that are not mutter to eat, in Rishonim, in Chazal, is very, very strict about it. The Gemara says that even though the Eibishter doesn't bring takala to the Tzadikim, but in Taisha said it's only been in Geya Machalas Asuris. And we spoke about this once, that if someone eats something that's Asur, it's different than a regular Isser. A regular Isser, you do an Aveira, you do Tshuva, you're fine. An Achil, you eat something that's Asur, that already affects the neshama. It's what tamtim is leiv. It says that's a whole different thing. Tamtim is leiv, and the Haggadah Shri brings down that Reb Meir had a tam with Acher. Acher, at the end of his life, he became an apikoris. Why? It says because while his mother was nursing him, she ate machol sasuris. She ate things she wasn't allowed to eat, and he was nursing, and he got from it. And he got from it, that's why at the end, years later, he became an apikoris. Years later. So you see, Machalos Asuris, even though we can find a Teirim, and we can say, yeah, we don't see the bugs, we do see the bugs, but when it comes time to Machalos Asuris, if it's also to eat it, there's something to come with Tamtam Esalev. You have to be very, very careful with this more than anything else. More than anything else. And there's there was I think I said this here once.
Say it again.
I think I said it here once that machal suras, there's different types of machal suras. There's a kosher animal, non-kosher animal. I'll say it very bekitzer. The time is late already. But the difference between a kosher animal and non-kosher animal is what? Is mafrise parsa and malas gera, right? So the Rishonim say, how do we explain that? If we need an explanation, they say that a person gets affected by what he eats. Now, an animal that has split hooves, it's a siman that it's a nirdaf. It's an animal that's being run after. That's being run after. It doesn't kill all the animals. It's a siman that it gets killed.
Prey.
Prey. It's a prey animal. Why? Because it says that when it has split hooves, it's easy for it to run on mountains and rocks. It's much easier. So that's why it's one siman that it's a prey animal. It's not an animal that kills. One thing. And malagera, the Rishonim say, why is an animal a malagera? It brings down its food, and then later on, it chews its cud, it brings it back up. So they say that's also a sign that the animal is a prey animal. Why?
It eats food.
Because it takes food, it has time, it grabs off the food from the tree, but it can't eat it. Why can't it sit there eating it? Because it's always on the lookout that the animals are going to come and kill it. So it goes to private places later on, and it brings it back up, and it can chew it. It's a siman that it's a nirdaf, that it's an animal that's a prey animal. We only eat animals that are prey animals. We're not people who attack, we don't try to kill other people, and if you do eat those animals, it affects the person. And the Ramah says even more, which is unbelievable. A treifa, what's a treifa? A treifa is a kosher animal, but it's going to die. Right? The animal has a hole in the lungs, it has a hole in the mind, in the brain. Right? It's going to die. That's called a treifa animal. Now a treifa animal we don't eat. You shecht it, even though you shechted it, you're not allowed to eat it. It's a kosher animal, but it's a treifa, you're not allowed to eat it. Says the Ramah in Hilchos Treifas, there's a way of checking if an animal is a treifa or not when it's alive, before you shecht it. There's a way of checking. How do you check it? Because you take your hand and you run it down the spine of the animal. If the animal goes down and it shows that it's subservient to you, then you know it's not a treifa. If the animal stays standing and doesn't go down, then it's a sign that it's a treifa. It's a sign that it's a treifa. That's what the Ramah says.
Now you're telling me that?
Now I'm telling you that, huh? The Ramah says, there's a story, I think it's with the Shinava. There's once a story. You see how much money you lost, yeah? There was once a story with, I think it was the Shinava, that there was a sheikhet in town who shechted animals, and every animal he shechted was kosher. No treifas. And people started wondering, we can't trust this guy. Every animal is kosher? There's no treifas? So they went over to him and said, we want to start checking your animals and make sure they're kosher, they're not treifas. He said, fine. And they checked, and all his animals were ksherim. And they asked him, what's going on over here? He says, no problem, I'll show you what I do. The Shinava was a kid then. I think it was the Shinava. And he would take him to the marketplace with him, and he would say, pick out for me a kosher animal. And he would be able to tell the animal, the way it acted, if it was a treifa or not. An animal that was a balgaiva, he knew it wasn't a kosher animal. An animal that was subservient, he knew that was a kosher animal. And that's how every time he came back in Shech, there was a kosher animal.
But how does the tear within the animal make it? How does it affect its personality?
So says the Ramah, the animal that becomes a treifa. Why don't we eat animals that are treifas?
Because of the characteristics.
It's a cost, right? Only treifas. Says the Ramah, it's more than that. When it becomes a treifa, its characteristics change, and now it becomes a balgaiva, a holy animal, and we don't eat those animals. So even in kosher animals,
But why? It's an animal that's been injured in some way internally.
Yeah, but that's what
Why
it changed.
does it become balgaiva? You think it would become more humble?
You're right. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
Okay.
I don't have an answer to why it is that way, but that's the Messias. The Chassam Sofer says a beautiful word. He says that everything has a remez in the Torah. Where's the remez to this in the Torah? That an animal that's a treifa is the animal that's a treifa you're not allowed to eat. And the reason is because it becomes subservient. So if you look at Pashas Noach,
becomes hardy.
Yeah. If you look at Pashas Noach, when it says about the animals that went into the teva,
The raven.
no, it says over there that you brought the behemoths. Umina behema asher loy tohirahi. Noach brought into the teva behema asher loy tohirahi. That's not tar. If you look in the Trop says behema asher loy, and then it continues tohirahi. Doesn't make sense. It should be a behema asher loy tohirahi. Loy tohira explains what the animal is. Why does the Trop split the loy from the word tohira? Behema asher loy tohirahi. It's tahar. Says the Chassam Sofer. Behema asher loy, or behema that holds himself to be a nothing, tahirahi. It's a simon that's tahira. So he brings a reference from the Torah to this Ramah that a behema asher loy, tahirahi knows a kosher animal. So we see no matter what we eat affects us, whether it's a treifa, whether it's a non-kosher animal. The reasons why it's matamtim so much because we end up changing our characteristics. So we have to be careful what goes into our mouth. For sure, it goes out of our mouth, but
that helps.